SDI North America Incorporated, a pioneer in restorative and cosmetic dentistry, driving the science of dentistry for better health through innovation. Please visit www.sdi.com.au.
And before we begin, I just want to say thank you to our sponsor, SDI, for supporting this webinar tonight. And the title of the webinar is called Leaders Lead. And this is a really exciting webinar because I'm excited to showcase all of the awesome mommy dentists and business doctors that are leaders in our field. And I thought for introductions, we would go one by one. If Dr. Stacey, you would like to go first, if you'd like to introduce yourself and what positions you have been in to our group, that would be great.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dr. Yum. I'm really excited and honored to be here, especially with this group of women that is on the panel. My name is Stacey Van Scoyoc. I'm a general dentist from Bloomington, Illinois, and currently I am the chair of the Council on Dental Practice at the American Dental Association. And in addition, I'm also the treasurer of the Illinois State Dental Society, and it's a progression, so in 3 years I will be the president of the Illinois State Dental Society.
Dr. Judy?
Hi, I'm also very happy to be here. My name is Judy Fisch. I am a general dentist practicing in Vermont with my husband, and I am currently the ADA trustee from the 1st District, which is the 6 New England states. I've also been the chair of our delegation to the ADA, as well as past president of Vermont. So thank you.
Wow, thank you. Dr. Maxine? Dr. Maxine, can you hear us? Okay, we'll come back to Dr. Maxine. We'll go to Dr. Janis.
Hi, everybody. I'm Janice Moriarty. I am a general dentist in Winchester, Massachusetts. That is right outside of Boston. I practice with an associate and a periodontist. And currently, for the past 2.5 weeks, I have been president of my state society, the Massachusetts Dental Society. And I'm also the current secretary and treasurer of Judy's 1st trustee district in New England. And I'm a past chair of the Yankee Dental Congress, which is our large regional dental meeting that we hold every January in Boston. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Dr. Tamara?
Hi, I'm Tamara Berg. I'm a general dentist in Yukon, Oklahoma. I am the 2018 past president of the Association of Women Dentists. I'm also a 2011 Oklahoma Dental Association president. And currently, I'm serving on the ADA Council of Membership. So welcome. I'm glad to be here.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Dr. Maxine, are you able to hear us now?
I hope.
Okay. She's trying. She can't hear anyone. Okay, well, I'm going to wait. We'll wait until she'll join us when she is able to. But I thought that I would open the floor if any of our participants have any questions to start. But if not, I think one question that I have for all of you is what inspired you and what motivated you to take leadership positions outside your dental practice?
I have no problem starting. I guess really for me, I was someone who was involved in basically organized dentistry ever since dental school. I was active in ASDA, and while I was in dental school, I was the student representative to the Council on Dental Practice. And so for me, that was, the highlight of my dental school career, just being able to be at the ADA and representing the dental students on the council. And so at the time, I just hoped that someday I could eventually become a participant as a dentist on that particular council. I guess really the reason why I stayed involved in organized dentistry was specifically because of that. I had moved to Bloomington. My husband's also a dentist, and we practiced together. And I became involved in our local component dental society, and eventually, went through the chairs, became president. And to be honest, I just really thought that once I had that on my CV, I could submit my name just to the ADA, and then that's how you were picked to be put on these councils. I had no idea it was a politically appointed position until the current president of Illinois at the time shared that with me, and he's like, well, actually, you have to be appointed by your trustee. And so he encouraged me to continue being involved in organized dentistry. So that's kind of how I ended up continuing on. I asked the president at the time to put me on a committee at a state level, and I just basically did that until I became trustee of Illinois. And while I was trustee, my trustee from the American Dental Association contacted me and asked me if I wanted to be on the Council on Dental Practice, and I was just, super excited. I didn't expect it to be that quick while I was a trustee, but it was, the greatest phone call that I've ever received of my dental career. So it's been just a joy to be a part of that. So that's how I started and why I stayed why I am in the positions I'm in.
For me, I could go for a few minutes. My path basically started with having two very, very strong mentors. One was my childhood dentist, who I actually worked for from the time I was 15 years old. And I wanted to become a dentist when I was 11, and I told him that, and he eventually hired me as an after-school dental assistant in his practice. And later on, when I got into dental school, he introduced me to another very good mentor, Kathy O'Laughlin, who you guys may recognize her name as the ADA Executive Director. The two of them were friends and had known each other, and they guided me actually into organized dentistry. I eventually worked as an associate for both of them, and I now own one of those practices when the other dentist has moved on to the ADA in Chicago. But they both got me interested from the very beginning in the local component of the tripartite, attending district meetings. And then further on, Kathy O'Laughlin was always chairing some committee at the Mass Dental Society or with Yankee Dental, and whatever one she got on, she just asked me to be a part of. So I started very small, and over many years just moved up in the ranks. And I think my message would be you don't start at the top, but get involved in some little way that's meaningful to you and see what comes from there.
This is Tamara, and my situation is very similar. I actually got started, I was active as a student in the Oklahoma Association of Women Dentists, and then I proceeded to, once I got out of school, I got invited to an Oklahoma County meeting and immediately joined a committee. And once you volunteer for one committee, then you get asked to do the next committee, and eventually I've been on every committee and I've chaired every committee. And so kind of did that leadership role, and eventually was asked to, run for our state association president. And I still was doing my women's dental stint, and actually had to back off a little bit because I knew that was too much to handle both presidencies at once. And so I came off the AAWD board for a few years, and then I hopped back on it and worked my way up that leadership role. So it's all about committees and starting small.
And for me, it's been somewhat similar in that I started actually working in the field at 14, cleaning the dental office for my family dentist, and then just kind of kept going. I've been involved ever since. I was in dental hygiene school prior to dental school, and so I've been involved ever since. What motivated me, though, was there weren't that many women in my dental school class, and after dental school, my husband and I did about 5 years in the U.S. Navy, and there weren't as many women dentists there either. And then we moved back to the rural state of Vermont, where there aren't as many women dentists here either. So part of my involvement has been to really forge ahead for women in dentistry, because our path is different, our experiences are different. Oftentimes there's opposition to that, but for me it's been passionate to stay the course and try to be somewhat of a trailblazer for those that are coming up behind us.
Thank you. Maxine, I feel so badly. I hope Maxine, I'm going to have Alicia text you. So my next question is, because it sounds like there aren't a lot of women dentists in leadership, how important do you think it is for women to be involved in leadership, and why you think it's important?
Well, I don't mind taking that one right off the bat, because I've pretty much gone through all of the potential leadership roles, short of going as far as Maxine as president of the American Dental Association. But the woman's voice really needs to be heard at the table. Our experiences, as I said previously, are very different, and male dentists don't really have an inkling about that. And it's important that our perspective be at the table for the dental industry, for leadership, for just everything that evolves within the profession. So I think that it's just very important that we're at the table.
Agree. This is the most number of female state presidents that we've had this year. I believe there are 13 of us. It was newsworthy enough to get on the front page of the ADA News. So, the majority right now of dental students are female. I believe in some schools it's almost close to 60%. So our future colleagues want to see people that look like them in leadership. So we really need to encourage women to get involved.
Definitely. What are some things, for me, I know like I am not completely involved in leadership positions or anything, but what are some things that you tackle? What are some issues that you face? What are things that you do? So like if one of our attendees are listening and they want to get involved, what are some avenues in which they can get involved, and what does that look like?
No, I think when I first started 25 years ago going to county meetings, I may have been one of the only females in the room, and that can be a little intimidating. And sometimes, that may make you never want to come back, but I was kind of driven, and I took it as a challenge. I invited another female to go with me the next time. I didn't want to be the only one there. And I've honestly, I've been hit on by male dentists in those same rooms as well too. And I wasn't going to let it happen. I was going almost to spite, because I'm like, I'm just as equal as you are, and I'm going to go. And probably 25 years ago, that's kind of how I just said, you know what, you can't scare me away. I'm coming back, and I'll see you the next meeting. So I think you have to stay with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to just highlight again what Tamara said. It is really critical, and it's not just women, it's minorities as well. When you go to dental meetings, sometimes you are treated as inferior, or I know my first meeting, I actually was told that I should have been a hygienist, and my husband was standing next to me, and we walked out, and he was furious. He's like, you went to dental school. He's telling you need to go into dental offices and do hygiene. Why would you do that? You've gone to dental school. You have the same degree as him. But I've heard stories where women will go to meetings and feel excluded, and so instead of going to the social hour, they'll just sit in their car and wait until the meeting actually starts and come in. So my recommendation is just do not allow that negativity to impact you. Just push forward, go in, make yourself known, and I'm confident that, confident with yourself, so that you can put yourself forward and put your name in for positions. And it's just like almost any other organization, we're needing people to step up. So there are definitely opportunities at every level, from your local component to the state level. I know in Illinois, you can even just log into the isds.org and see what the different committees are, and you can submit your name. So there are ways to get involved, and as Tamara said, you just get into one committee and then someone asks you to do something else. So it's really, once you get in, your foot in the door, and you do a good job, you're going to be asked to continue to serve.
Right.
They're on. Tamara, I think you said you're on the membership committee.
I am. I'm on the, I was appointed by my trustee to be on the ADA council membership this year. So it's my first year. It's a 4-year stint. So, eyes wide open right now, but I'm enjoying it so far.
And I know that Janice, you said that you had mentors that kind of like brought you into leadership, Kathleen O'Loughlin, have any of you mentored any of the other dentists that are women to come into leadership with you?
Absolutely. Yeah, we actually in Massachusetts, over 10 years ago, started a guest board member program where we select 4 board members every year from, demographics that are not in a majority at the board table. So basically for women or ethnic dentists, for younger dentists, for new leaders, and they can do everything that our board does except for vote, and that's been a wonderful stepping stone. It's a very high-powered position in our society. A task force selects these people, but it's very eye-opening for them to see what else the Dental Society has to offer. And the other wonderful thing that I did was the ADA's Institute for Diversity and Leadership, which is an annual 1-year program with somewhere upwards of 20 people that are selected. You apply for it, and you do an ad hoc project over the course of the year, and that was a wonderful program to get to meet people from across the country and see how the ADA functions. It's held at the ADA. You go to 3 meetings at headquarters, and that is a tremendous asset to our association. So that would be something very good as a starting point to see what the ADA has to offer.
Definitely.
Can you hear me now?
Maxine!
Yes.
Yay!
Hi.
Yay!
I've been listening. This is wonderful.
Oh, hi, Maxine.
Took 3 devices, but I finally got on.
I was hoping you could introduce yourself to everyone that's listening.
I'm Maxine Feinberg. I'm a practicing periodontist in Cranford, New Jersey, and past president of the American Dental Association. And I'm glad to be finally able to be heard on the podcast this evening.
Thanks for staying with it.
Hey, I didn't get where I am because I give up easily. What can I tell you? There's no question about it, but everybody on this call this evening isn't where they are because they give up easily, because if we did, none of us would be here. And I think that includes getting through dental school and certainly getting to where we are in organized dentistry. And, it's been a very long road, and I think a lot of people would have given up early on in the process, but I think most of us here on the call tonight stuck it out because we felt there was a great deal of value in our participation.
Wonderful.
At least I certainly did, and I always felt that I got more out of it than I put in naturally. So I'm glad I stuck it out to be able to talk with everybody this evening.
I just wanted to read some of the messages that are coming through. I don't know if you guys can see them. A lot of people said hello, and Julie Swift here says rock stars, and then Maxine, glad you're able to get on. Irene wanted to say thank you for all that each of you do. Our profession is very fortunate for all of you. So I just wanted to read some of those comments. So Maxine, I just have a question for you. What does it take for one to become the president of the ADA?
Well, I was listening, and, I think you start off small. I don't think you start off thinking you want to be president of the ADA. I think I started, at my companion level as the oral cancer chairperson, and I did that for 9 years. I didn't think they were ever going to let me give that job up, and then they made me secretary, and they told me the job would be 2 years, but then they thought, gee, she's doing such a good job at that. That 2-year job became a 5-year job, and then I had to continue to do the programming for life. I still help them do that, even today, which really sort of is baffling. And I was the alternate trustee to our state association for 7 years before they trusted me with the job of being the trustee. And there was a tremendous amount of political wrangling that went along with that. And I was the second woman to be president of our component and the first woman to be president of our state association. And I did so many little jobs along the way, all of which I learned from and I enjoyed immensely, because each job taught me different important lessons about life, about leadership, about friendship. And then eventually I became the trustee to the 4th District, which was a wonderful experience. You know, the 4th District is a very diverse district, very much reflective of the ADA. You know, we're made up of Maryland, Delaware, District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., the Federal Dental Services, which we're very proud of, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, and then, of course, New Jersey. So, yeah, I got to meet so many fascinating, wonderful people along the way. And I served on an ADA council, which was members of insurance and retirement. And I was the, I had the opportunity and really the great fortune and honor to be the first woman elected chair of that council. And, you know, that was a wonderful experience. And then I, you know, eventually, and I was in the House of Delegates for many years, which I really loved. And, you know, my heart will always be in the ADA House of Delegates, because even in the 4 years I served on the Board of Trustees, and people would say, you know, stop thinking like a delegate, Maxine, as though that was somehow insulting. I never took it as an insult, because I felt that the delegates really are the heart and soul of the association. They're close to the membership and have a sense of what the membership thinks about and wants. And so, you know, I felt that many of my closest friendships at the ADA were made in that House of Delegates, and they're still very near and dear to my heart. So I've done many different things, all of which I've enjoyed. I can't say that there's a job I've had that wasn't valuable to me in some way, personally and professionally. So it's been many, many years of work that I've enjoyed so much of everything I've done. And again, I think the best part of it is the great friendships I've made over all of these, you know, years. And I tell everybody, you get so much more than you put in. I think everybody should be involved, because, you know, you learn so much.
Maxine.
Work every day. You're not going to do the best you can do, because you're going to miss out on so many opportunities and growth in your professional life that you really gain from meeting the people you meet and learning the little subtleties and intricacies that you learn by being involved in organized dentistry. So it's been a great run, and I'm still involved because I still enjoy my profession. And I think that's what it's really about, that you want to give back to the profession that's given you so much.
That's wonderful. I'm trying to read your lips because the audio isn't as clear, but I'm getting that you've been in so many different positions for long periods of time, and you've learned a lot along the way. I have a question from Julie that she wants to know from everyone. How do you avoid burnout in helping in organized dentistry? I know I have experienced, and certainly some of my colleagues, male and female, because it is so many of the same people doing, quote unquote, the work.
Yeah.
Julie, I think part of that is you have to learn to say no. And sometimes that's hard because you do get asked over and over again, but you have to figure out which categories or committees or things that you're passionate about. you can't say yes to everything that comes along, and you need to be able to say no to some and kind of balance it, because you're still being a mom and you're still running a practice, and you can't, I mean, you have to juggle all of it, and you can't burn yourself out in any one thing. So that would be my suggestion, is learn to say no. And I often tell my husband, guess what? I said no today to something. Somebody asked me and I said no. And he's like, really? And I'm like, no, really, I did. I said no. So.
And I will say the exact same thing. One of the things when I started in getting involved in organized dentistry, I was the trustee, and then as I said, I got the phone call from the ADA trustee to be on the council. And when I told my husband that I got that phone call and he knew it was something that I was so very much wanting, the comment he made at that time, which was spot on, was like, you can do both of these. I will support you doing both of these. However, you're going to have to stop everything else that you are doing in the community. And so the only thing I stayed doing was volunteering at my children's school. And when I say volunteering, it means I was baking. I was bringing, or whatever things. I wasn't actually in the classroom anymore helping. So it was one of the things that I had to do. And to be honest, at the moment, I have still said no to anything else besides dentistry, organized dentistry. And as Tamara said, the areas that I'm devoting my energy to are the ones that I'm passionate about. Because even in the ones that I'm passionate about, there are days that I can tell you that I wonder, why am I doing this? Like your family gets in the way, or, just life gets in the way. And there are many times where I miss things for my children or my husband because I'm at a meeting. And even with the two things that I'm doing, I think one of the questions Grace had asked, how much time do you spend? Well, I'm out of town probably 3-4 days a week. And that's, it can be stressful when you're gone that much. But I love it every single moment that I'm at the meetings, what I'm doing, and the people that I'm doing it with. So that is what keeps me going. But saying no and focusing on what you love.
Now, can you hear me? It's Maxine, can you hear me? What I was going to say is, I was lucky. I have a husband that was really supportive of me, and so we worked together as a team to divide and conquer. I'm not really into sports, and my kids were, and so he very often stood out in the rain and went to field hockey games, and I very often did not make it to field hockey games. But, I was the one who did the baking for the special treats and made the Halloween costumes, and we just divided and conquered. And I also knew when I needed to, sleep late on a Sunday morning if I needed to. And as everybody said, I also learned to say no to things that I just didn't have the passion for, but it took me a really long time to be able to say no. And I had to give up things like teaching. I taught for a while early in my career, and I had to give that up. But teaching at a residency now 1 day a month, so I'm enjoying that again. So that's the beauty of dentistry. You can pick and choose, and you can change and adapt as you go along. And but you've got to just figure out what it is that you love the most and learn to say no. And it takes time. You got to just stand in the mirror and say no, no, no. And it takes time, and you learn how to do it.
Estella Ireland has a question. She says, it's wonderful to have so many ladies involved in state and national committees. What tips can you offer to recruit new members to the local component, and how do you get buy-in from existing / new members to participate or volunteer for events?
Yeah.
That's
the question. Yes. Yeah.
I think it's all about asking someone. Ask them to come along to the meeting with you. And maybe it's people that you work with that are in your community or your town, or maybe it's somebody that you graduated with in the same dental school, or similar age group or something. But I think it's an ask. I think you just have to keep asking.
Yeah.
I also think
I still ask people.
Okay, I also think it's a matter of intentional inclusion. And so once you are there and others come in, or you bring someone along, just intentionally including people. And I think women do a very good job of that. But you might have to kind of force your way into certain settings and force the inclusion issue.
Got it.
To tag on to Judy, I think you have to go around the room and introduce who you bring to maybe to the male colleagues that you might already know their name. I mean, you have to, be intentional, like she said, and go around and introduce this person that you had bring along. So that's important.
Margaret Gingrich wants to know, what are the most amount of women that have served on the ADA board at one time?
Currently, there are 4 women trustees out of the total of 17 trustees, but I think in the past there may have been 6, but Maxine would know for sure.
It's interesting. There had been a time when, let's see, there was a time where there were 4 at one time. You had Jean, and then there was a total lapse. So it's been cyclic, where it looked like things were getting really great, and then there was an ebb and a flow. But now I think this is actually the most that's ever been at one time, which is you, Judy.
On the current board, Maxine?
I think this board has the most women that have ever been seated at one time, which is how many? 5. It's you, Billy Sue,
Linda Himmelberger,
Linda
Edgar,
and
Sue Darshow.
Susan Darshow.
Sue Darshow.
So that's 5.
Right.
Sorry.
5. So I think that's the most at one time. But back in 2008, there were also, I think, there may have been 4 women then. So, or 2007, somewhere, there was a large number, and then everybody thought things were moving in the right direction, and then there was a lull for a period of time. So I think we're moving in the right direction. Hopefully we can sustain this.
Daphne Ferguson Young has a question. How do we encourage new graduates to stay involved in organized dentistry, especially if they've been active in leadership roles as a dental student?
I think that's a really tough question, because we need to find them positions and meaningful positions and jobs at the local component and state level, and we've had trouble doing that. And I think, once again, it's going out and really recruiting people that we know have been involved in, ASDA, and getting them involved at the component level with, the new dentist activities, and doing things that they find worthwhile and meaningful, whether it be volunteering to do short-term jobs, things that maybe are not the way we've done things in the past. The ADA is a bit of a behemoth. We've done things in certain ways for generations, and so now we need to start looking at things a little differently, like maybe a commitment that isn't as long-term, maybe, getting involved in volunteer activities like Give Kids a Smile, Moms Projects, things that younger people might feel a value in because they're very altruistic, they like to get involved, shorter-term projects, things like that. And I think we can do it. And I think in my state in New Jersey, we are having meetups, at places that are, more interesting to younger members. Maybe having groups that are, more designed for, let's say, younger women, people who have interests in areas that might be centered around certain activities. So I think we're looking at different areas and trying to get people who were, let's say, involved in NASDA and other, student groups involved. But I think it's going to take a lot of effort on the local component and state level for us to do that. But I think we're trying, and I think it's just going to take continuous energy and effort for us to continue to do that. And it's going to take a change in thinking, and I think we're trying. Don't you agree?
I would say absolutely. One of the things we have to remember is younger grads, are under most likely a tremendous amount of student debt. They have to work. They're probably associates. They might not have as much time to devote to committee meetings as older dentists do. So, we've in our state done a lot of meeting format changes where we use the webinar format like today for meetings, so you don't have to travel to your your state headquarters, and making, jobs attainable and doable for them that might not be a 4-year commitment. Like you said, Maxine, small bites to have them do something that they can actually feel that they've made a difference for. And they're very willing to volunteer. We just have to make sure we include them.
Maria Morenga would like to ask a question. How do you handle when other women within your component that aren't supportive of your endeavors, particularly in situations that have very few women in leadership and are represented in a component?
Well, I'll take a stab at this. I guess, when there are other women that do not seem to be supportive of you, I guess my only thing would just, brush it off, find other people that are, and, because there may not be so many women in your component that could support you, find a man that's going to be, so a role model or a mentor. You can try to change the person, the woman who's hurting your feelings, and maybe approach her and say, by the way, you hurt my feelings. But if you don't want to go down that route, just brush it off. Understand that, there's all different types of people. You might run across some men that may not be supportive of you too, but there's always going to be someone out there. And in my situation, because there were not that many women who are leaders, the ones who are the mentors and the most encouraging to me have been men. But now that there's more women around, especially Judy's been at my board of trustee, or she's our trustee at our council. It's been wonderful to meet women like Maxine, who have been extremely supportive and encouraging. So once you get some other women who are leaders to encourage you, that's great. But the ones that aren't, just let it go.
But women have enough hurdles as it is. And what I find is that if you just embrace each other and support each other, that provides so much more value, it gets you further than to compete against each other, because we have enough hurdles making our way through, depending on how many barriers there are within your region to continue to climb up that ladder.
I agree with Judy. You can't assume that all women are going to support each other, but it's been my experience that for the most part, most women will try to, encourage each other, at least on the local level. Occasionally, there have been issues where people have. There was something that came up in our state recently where 2 women wanted to run for office, and so I tried to encourage one person to wait a year, because it just seemed to me that both were very deserving. Both had worked very hard for many years. It just would have broken my heart to see them, go against each other when, I thought there was room for both of them. But I think what we need to do is really set up opportunities for women to network, because part of the problem that I see is men have natural networking opportunities. They golf, they hang out in the bar at meetings and stuff. And I don't think women have those natural opportunities, you know. I don't golf. A lot of women do, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a golfer. And so I think that there are people who, so we need to, in a sense, come up with ways to help women network with one another and meet each other and help each other get ahead. And I think that, you know, we need to try to foster that kind of networking opportunity that seem to occur more naturally for our male colleagues.
And I just was reminded about a quote that Madeleine Albright stated, and she stated that there's a special place in hell for women that don't support women. I think it's a good quote.
Oh boy, we better support each other. So I might ask a kind of a silly question. So Judy, you're a trustee. What does it mean to be a trustee? Like, what is that role exactly?
Well, the role of the trustee is to represent the district you come from. There are 17 districts. Some districts are single states like Illinois. Mine happens to be the 6 New England states. So there's responsibilities with attending state meetings and being connected to the states within your district, your voice at the Board of Trustees, speaking on behalf of your district, but also on behalf of the country as a whole. And then as a trustee, you're also assigned as a liaison to another council or other committees or affiliations within the ABA. So your voice can be heard at a variety of different settings. And I think it just gives you a little bit more presence in that respect.
And does everyone want to strive to be a trustee? Is that something that or do you prefer to stay at the local component? Or what I guess, do most people in leadership strive to do? Or is that just personal?
I think, yeah, I'll answer it, Grace, that it's relatively, it's more of a personal decision, just because, you know, when you're talking time commitments, I'm sure Judy can tell you, and I know for sure Maxine, I as a president of the ADA, the amount of time that you're away from home, I don't even know if you could even practice while you're president. If, you know, with Judy, she's gone quite a bit. So it would be wanting to continue on serving, but also realizing the amount of time that you are going to be giving to the association. And if you're willing to do it and there might be an election process too, that you might have to compete against several people to get that position. So if you're wanting to, you know, put yourself in that environment, that's probably another reason.
So in my district, we're 4 states and it's a 16-year rotation. So if you don't time it just right, you're going to miss your opportunity. And so that won't ever be an opportunity for me. I don't plan on being around in 16 more years in that capacity. Don't ever say never, though. You never know.
Wow, so 16 years, that's like a long time.
Well, each state does it for 4 years, and it's 4-year rotation. I mean, there's, you know, 4 states. So I don't know, how long does Judy, I mean, you have 6 states. Is it a rotation or is it an election for your 6 states?
No, ours is an open election because we have 4 states that are small, 1 state that is middle, 1 state that is large. So it depends on who might be interested at that time. So it's an open election.
Say you're traveling places and you're going places. Stacey, you were saying that perhaps you don't even have time to practice seeing patients or being in your practice. Where are you going?
Well, you know, I guess in my case, I travel a lot through the state of Illinois by being the treasurer of the state. But then because the ADA is located in Illinois, I'm also traveling to Chicago, which again is just for me personally, that's where I would be going. If I was from another state, then I'd be flying into Chicago for the council meetings. And then in addition to wherever the ADA meeting is, last year is Hawaii, this upcoming year is in San Francisco, and then Washington, D.C. we go for Lobby Day. So those are basically the places that I travel.
And I traveled to all 6 New England states, sometimes multiple times within the year, to some of the dental schools in my district, which are mostly in Boston. One is in Connecticut and one is in Portland, Maine. To Chicago, I'm assigned to Dental Lifeline Network, and their headquarters is in Denver. So I traveled to Denver. And as Stacey said, DC for the lobby conference, wherever the ADA meeting is held. I also have been a part of the FDI delegation, which is the International Dental Association. So for the past 4 years, the meeting was in Poland, it was in Madrid, it was in Argentina, and this year it'll be San Francisco. So yeah, I've had a lot of traveling on my shoulders.
That's a lot. I wouldn't mind going to all those places. Sign me up. So Lobby Day, we haven't really touched on Lobby Day. I would love to talk about that because I remember that as a student, and when I was in dental school going when I was in Maryland and Baltimore, I remember going to DC, but I kind of forgot a little bit about it. What goes on now with Lobby Day?
I actually just attended my first. Each state most likely has its own lobby day where you go to your state capital and advocate for bills and resolutions that are affecting dentistry. But the ADA has a lobby day annually that's combined with ASDA. And last year, it's in April every year, was my first one last year. Over 1,000 of us were there and learning about major issues affecting our profession, and we all pair up according to where we live, and we go see our national legislators. So very, very fun, very inspiring, great way to see, about 1,000 other dentists with like interests, and it's a pretty good take. You have to apply to do it. In my state, I had to ask to go, but each state is allotted so many slots. So that is another thing. If your interests are more political, as opposed to maybe more membership oriented or more, Dental Lifeline oriented, that's another avenue for a lot of involvement.
Okay.
And it's come a long way, It's come a long way from, I was at the first lobby day back in, I think it was like 1998 or something, and I got to go because my brother-in-law and sister-in-law worked on Capitol Hill, and they were looking for people who had connections with, congressmen and senators. And now it's wonderful because we go with the students, and every year we come up with a list of priorities, the things that we're going to lobby about. And, it has to do with what is really in the minds and hearts of our members, and the things that are most of the greatest concern to the profession. So the last few years we've been lobbying about, student debt, the things that really are of concern to the students and really impactful on the profession. And right now we have a number of dentists in Congress. We've just elected our first Democratic congressman from New Jersey. So we have 3 Republican congressmen who are dentists and 1 Democrat, which is really impressive. And they've been able to do this with the help of our PAC. So it's a really exciting experience. And for the students, they love it because it gives them an opportunity to speak to their Congress people. And I think we've made a difference over the years, and we've been able to enact some really impactful legislation that's really helped our profession a lot. So I always find it fun. And now with the students, it's that much more fun because, they used to go with ADIA, the dental educators. And I think they realize now that it's not to say that the educators have a different agenda, but their agenda is really more in line with our agenda because they're all going to be graduating and practicing with us very very soon after. So it was a great thing for us to do. And we have two, we've just purchased a couple of buildings on Capitol Hill, so it makes us even that much more effective. And it's just really exciting. So I highly recommend it for people who have not been, we used to call it Washington Leadership Conference, but now it's Lobby Day with the students. And I think anybody who's interested in politics should definitely make an attempt to come and spend a few days in D.C. Because you learn a lot. We bring in people to speak, and it's very educational. It's really a wonderful experience.
That sounds really great. I remember seeing a lot of Facebook pictures everyone posted on Lobby Day. And I was like, oh, that looks like really a lot of interesting people doing great work for our field. What, other than student debt, did you tackle, or what are other things that come up?
We've also
the medical device tax. The medical device tax is a hot topic right now. Dental tourism is a hot topic right now. I mean, there's a list of all the different things, but the ADA has to kind of pick just a couple to make their voice. But I would say there's probably 8 or 10 things right now that, not just American Dental Association, AAO, the do-it-yourself dentistry, the whole Smile Direct Club, that's huge right now. And so we're taking a stand for that. And so that may have not been what happened at Lobby Day, but that's going on year round. And those are some of the things we talk about when we're on one-on-one with our senators and our House of Representative people. We talk about those things as well.
How long does it take for a bill to pass in that situation? Like a year, 2 years?
McCarran Ferguson, what are we on, 20 years?
20
years. 20? Yeah. I think we're 20.
A lifetime.
20 years.
It's been around since 1946, so...
a lot longer than 20 years then.
My gosh. Well, it's so incredible what all you doctors are doing for our profession. And I hope that more women will step up, and I hope that the attendees that are watching right now will get involved in some way, shape, or form. If there are any parting words that you have, or any kind of small piece of advice before we end our part, we have 5 minutes, and so I was hoping that everyone can give or share any piece of advice on how more women can get involved.
Well, it's very rewarding to be involved. It's very rewarding to have your voice at the table. And what you don't realize is that through the years, you're actually mentoring, even though you don't realize you're mentoring, because you're setting an example and you're paving the way. So I think it's important to just on your local level, try to get your foot in the door, try to get involved, try to meet people. It's a slow progress, but it really, I think, as the years go by, with so many more women coming into the profession, it's of the utmost importance.
I can piggyback on that, Judy. I would just say, as Judy said, both be a mentor and seek a mentor. I mean, I'm 25 years into my profession, and I'm still looking to be mentored by the likes of Maxine Feinberg and Judy Fisch and Carol Summerhays, because they've paved the way for us. I think it's sort of just get someone involved, pull somebody up by the bootstraps. If you're in a position to appoint somebody to a committee, or just ask someone if they want to attend a meeting with you. Just don't let them feel alone. Younger members have a hard time getting entrenched, so bring somebody along with you, and just continue to be active.
So last night I had dinner with one of my mentors, and I had the same dinner, I invited a dental student. And so I think if you're lucky enough to have a dental school near you, try to reach out to female dental, students, and try to start mentoring them. Like we just said, Janice just mentioned, I mean, you've got to reach both sides, but you're not done learning ever. I mean, we all know that. there's always something that you learn. And so I try to always learn from both sides, my mentor as well as my mentee. So
I was going to say the same thing. The mentor, my first mentor was one of my professors in dental school who was my first boss, and he was a man, but he got me involved in organized dentistry and taught me the value of participating, and I'll always be indebted to him. And so I always say, look around you and find people who have the qualities that you admire, and ask them if you can go out to lunch with them, and actively seek a mentor. And when you see people that you think are going to be good to be involved, I always invite them to meetings and ask them to get involved. I invited somebody to a meeting about 10 years ago. Her mother was a dentist, but not a member of organized dentistry, so I invited both of them to lunch. The mother never got involved, but the daughter has been president of her component twice now. And she always said, she wouldn't have gotten involved if I hadn't asked her. And so it's always worth asking. And people are not going to do it if you don't. And I just think, you just see things in people that can make a difference, and people just want to be asked. Especially since some people are a little shy at first and feel a little uncomfortable at those component meetings. So if you see somebody at a meeting that seems to be by themselves, ask them to sit with you. Just say, hey, would you like to sit at our table? Because people tend to be a little cliquish sometimes at the meetings, and you don't even realize you're doing it. So just invite somebody to sit with you, take people out to lunch, ask non-members to go, but I think there are so many people out there that would get involved if we just took the time to invite them and say, please get involved.
Yeah, and pretty much everything was said. The only thing I would also encourage, if anyone is wanting to get involved and you haven't been asked, it's okay for you to ask. It's okay for you to step up and advocate for yourself and say, hey, I want to be involved in Children's Dental Health Month. How can I be involved? Or I want to be the president of my component. How can that happen? So you do need to, you actually just have to ask. So to be honest, the reason I think I got the Council on Dental Practice was because I asked the person ahead of me who had it, and I said, hey, do you have any idea who you might want in your position? And he's like, no, I don't know anyone. Do you? And I'm like, I want it. He's like, well, so just ask.
There's one last question. We're down to the wire. Someone wants to know, can you talk to us about the difference between mentors and sponsors? Isn't that the same? Or I'm not.
Can you say it again?
So the question was, can you talk to us about the difference between mentors and sponsors?
Well, I think a mentor stays with you through the course of your career, or however long you may be able to keep that going. A sponsor maybe is just more temporary, or not necessarily for the whole ride.
Okay, I think, and then she said the sponsor thinks of you positions. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say a sponsor would be someone who could get you what you want. If you want something, a position, they would be in a position to help you get there. But maybe a mentor is someone who, through the course of your career, can help guide you.
Okay. So Karen, I think Karen says, mentor gives advice, sponsors open doors and create opportunities. Men get sponsors, women get mentors. Well, I think maybe you just want both. You want a sponsor and a mentor.
You want both.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time. Thank you so much for this incredible hour and opening up what leadership looks like, because there's a lot of us on the other side that have no idea. Absolutely no idea. But it sounds very encouraging. It sounds worthwhile. It seems like we really need to get involved to elevate ourselves and elevate women in dentistry. And so I thought this was a very, very worthwhile hour. So I want to thank you for spending the time with us. And if anybody wants to say anything else, please be my guest. But other than that, I'm going to say goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
We appreciate the time. We really do. Thank you.
Thank you.
SDI North America Incorporated, a pioneer in restorative and cosmetic dentistry, driving the science of dentistry for better health through innovation. Please visit www.sdi.com.au.